Hey fella, looks like you got stuck underneath there. So it seems like the storm is not going anywhere around here, so I think it's good to get cozy and make another amulet together. And on my last video, Were.Wife asked for Angrboda, as did many other people, so let's go with her this time. Also, I wonder, what is a Were.Wife? Does it turn into a wife during full moon and other times it's not a wife? If anyone is watching that wants to do similar things, I will start including like tips and stuff I figured out on the way in these videos. And this time I will show you how I keep reusing the wax that I have to make those little figures that I later melt out, and what the wax is good for, how you can use it, and so on. But yeah, other than that, let's get inside. Let's start with designing the model in Blender first, which is a 3D modeling software, and see how it turns out. So we're gonna be working from here today. So Angrboda is a female Jotünn that lives to the east of the gods of Asgard in a place called Jotünn. Jan meaning iron and vid being wood. Her name consists of two Old Norse words, Anger and Boda, which still remain today in Scandinavian languages and even in English, where Anger means regret or sorrow and Boda means to foreshadow or bring forth, so sorrow bringer. And this is associated with her being the mother of three great beings. First, Hel. Hel is the ruler of Helheim, a realm that the dead go to. Second is Fenrir, a giant wolf that is foretold to eat Odin, and third is Jormungandr, who is foretold to slay Thor. I've depicted each of her three children on her back at the ends of her long braids. She is also mentioned as being the mother of all wolves. That's why on the amulet I made her as holding wolves in her hands, and around her attire are tusks and teeth. These are a reference to ancient Stone Age burials from Scandinavia, where certain people were buried with a set of these. And there seems to be a pattern in how many moose teeth, bear claws, and so on there were, but that's for another time. I've depicted her in this way to symbolize a primeval being that is the creator of wolves and three very important figures in Norse mythology. And overall the style is inspired by several artifacts found during the Viking age of shield maidens and supposedly Valkyries. So now that we have her 3D model ready, let's print it out and make a mold for her. So what I do here is that I clean the surface of the 3D printer. If there's any debris or anything stuck in there, it could mess up the screen. So I print this sheet, and this sheet catches all the debris in there, so I can easily remove all of it at once, because it would set to the bottom and the debris would get stuck in that sheet. So it's easy to clean it like this. Now it is to cure it. I think her mold will turn out pretty good, so let's give it a go. So now it's time to build her a little cage that I can put the silicone into. And for this I've 3D printed myself these walls, and I put the bottom here, to which I glue Angrboda onto. So, and then I built the walls around her, here and here. And I also glue the sides so no silicone comes through. Hopefully it holds it. Looks like nothing is pouring through, so it's fine. I did a bit of reading, and the faster a silicone mold heats up, or if it's in a warm environment, the faster it cures. So I will actually try, I've set it to the most lowest here. Try sticking my hand in there. Yeah, it's pretty warm. I will try putting the mold in there, see if it helps anything. I mean, the yellow one setting time is 3 hours, so in 3 hours I guess we'll know. One more quick thing, if anyone is watching this and wants to try it out as well, if you set your silicone mold into the oven, make sure it's not above 80 degrees, because above 80 degrees the 3D prints start cracking a bit. I'll try to show you on this one, because I did something else with it. And what can happen is when the silicone is curing, it will break and so, and the silicone will go in between there and a bunch of stuff will happen. These actually, the silicone mold even saves lines like this. You will keep these in your mold and all of the wax figures that you make will end up with that same line in them. Just a quick disclaimer, if you decide to do it yourself as well like this, make sure that the oven that you put it into isn't above, let's say, 60 degrees Celsius, because I would say that is kind of the limit with my experimentation and so on. The more you know. So I did test it. It actually did harden much faster with the oven, but I still let it sit overnight. So here I will take it apart, cut it open, and then we can pour the wax into it and see how it turns out. And now that it has sat there for a while, let's take it open and see how it looks. The detail actually looks really good. So I'll make a couple more of these and then I can put the mold away and move on to the tree. And here's what the finished tree looks like. And now I'll make plaster for it, and then I can show you what I can do with the old wax. And make sure to mix your plaster really well. Yeah! And here is what it looks like after the wax has poured out. So now let's set this to the kiln and I'll show you what we can do with the old wax that's just poured out of it. So with the old wax, what I can do is like it drips out into water and it stays on the surface of water over here. So if I let it cool off, I can pick off a piece of it. I need to make sure that there is enough water in there though, because otherwise it will burn to the bottom of this pot and get stuck in there. And after countless hours of research and using AI to determine the most efficient way to take out the wax from the pot, I have come up with this solution of sticking a knife in the middle of it and yanking it out of there. And depending on how big of a mold I had, plus how many molds I have burnt the wax out of, the size of these discs can vary. The smaller ones are easy to break apart by hand. The bigger ones though, I break apart with my hammer. So I get these small bits and pieces, and then I collect them into a cup, which I can then boil. And the boiled wax I can use for making the sprue for the tree or the little spacers between the amulets and the main tree. And I 3D printed myself these 2-piece cylinders that I can tape together and pour the wax into to then get the sprue of the tree. And I also 3D printed myself smaller cylinders, which I then use for the spacers. So I get these long cylinders and I cut them apart. And then I make a bunch of these ahead of time for many molds that I will use. This old wax is not very good for making the amulets themselves, because as you can see it has all kind of debris in it and so on, but it's completely fine for the sprues and for the spacers. I've had no issues with it. So now that the kiln has worked overnight, I can finally take the mold out and pour some metal into it. And now I break it apart to get to the amulets. Also I had 2 of my friends visiting, so enjoy their little serenade over here. So now I use a wire brush to see how the pieces turned out. I would say these look really good. Going with slightly bigger details seems to help a lot, because the Njörd one that I made had very small details and I have a bit of issues. Some of them fail, and I do cast without a vacuum, so a vacuum chamber would probably help as well. I just rely on gravity. And now it's time to create the patina on it. I use a 50-50 mix of ebonol and water. It works really well on copper alloys. And now I just use a brush to scrub off the surfaces, see if there's any mistakes, because sometimes you can only see the mistakes once you've done the ebonol on it as well, like a small hole on the head or something. But this one seems nice. So as with every single amulet I make, I have also made a teaser for her. So let's look at it together. So there it is, Angrboda. It seems that the storm is not going anywhere, so hopefully this little fella will help us scare the storm away. Also, I made a new YouTube channel for the music that I had on here before. I felt it was littering a bit over here, so here is the new channel. Go follow it if you want to hear music. Also, I have another song for you at the end over here that hopefully you will appreciate. And at the end of the video here, I will also leave other amulets that I've made if you're interested in this content. But other than that, thank you for watching, and you have a nice day from me and Mr. or Mrs. Runestone over here.